Hi. So I wanted to hop on here and share with you a very short training video about how to overcome performance anxiety so that you can feel free in your expression when you are in front of other people, whether that's speaking, singing, creating content, all of the above. So I'm going to walk you through a 3-step process that I personally really love to use, something that I've learned from several different traditions that really support in overcoming performance anxiety. So something important to set the context for first is what actually is happening when we are experiencing performance anxiety, because when we know what's actually happening, then we can mitigate that with these practices using our conscious awareness. So what's actually happening there? I'm going to put it in a little nutshell. And what's happening is that our nervous system is activated. So it stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, and our body is getting excited about being in front of other people and sharing something. However, our mind is interpreting that nervous system excitement as anxiety. So excitement and anxiety are really the same physiological phenomenon in the body, but our minds interpret it very, very differently. So what happens is that we go into either a fight or flight response. And so the fight response in the nervous system can look like a lot of mental chatter, a lot of racing thoughts, a lot of mental activity, right? So we kind of lose our grounding. We start to speed up our words and get a little bit frantic. That's what that kind of response can look like. But also our bodies can go the other extreme, the other side of the pendulum, which is more of a freeze response. It can also look like, for singers or speakers, it can look like feeling like you don't have any energy, just feeling completely lethargic. All your energy is leaking and draining, so to speak. And it can kind of feel like that. So it's complete opposite responses, but those are our different coping mechanisms to deal with it. So then how do we come into this middle ground, the middle pillar, as some spiritual traditions call it? How do we find this middle way, the balance point? That is what we're really going for here, is feeling balance in our systems so that we can communicate from that place of groundedness and also excitement and engagement all at the same time. So I'm going to walk you through these steps, and so that you can start to incorporate them into your own practice. And the idea with this is that it becomes a way to weave this into your day so that you can feel wonderful in your expression and communication. So step number 1, of course, is the breath, because it always starts with the breath. I know that I might sound like a broken record saying that, but hear me out here. The breath is reflective of the quality of the mind. That comes from what we know in yoga. And so I'm going to walk you through a very, very simple pranayama practice, a breathing practice that supports us in getting into this feeling of calm, centered mind, specifically for singing and speaking. So one thing we can do here is, let's just do it together. So I'm going to walk you through it, and we're going to do a little visualization. So just imagine that you are getting in front of a group of people and you're about to do some public speaking, you're about to do some singing, and you feel nervous and all the mental activity is up here. I was actually just walking through this with a client of mine and it was so beautiful, so I wanted to share it with you. So what we can do in that case is we want to redirect the mental energy and activity down to the body, down to the sacral and root chakra areas. So it's not a problem to have all this mental activity. That's actually a wonderful thing, to have a lot of excitement, but we just want to redirect it so that we can harness it and use it and master this energy. So what do? Let's go ahead and close the eyes. This will be a very short practice, but I do invite you to pause and actually practice this with me so that you can embody it, because that's very different than just learning some words from me right now. So see if you can do this with me. It's going to be really short. So go ahead, close your eyes, and we're going to imagine a beautiful, brilliant white light, like a waterfall of light, flowing down through your mind. So imagine all your thoughts just flowing down in that river of light. This comes from a meditation technique called max meditation, which I'm certified to teach, so that's why I'm sharing it with you. So we imagine that calm, beautiful, brilliant light, waterfall flowing down through the center of the mind. And we're imagining that moving all the way down to the sacral chakra area, okay, right below the belly button. And imagine that it's pooling like an energy pool of light here at the hara. So anytime you're feeling a lot of thoughts, mental activity, anxiety, bring it down, 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 and see if it starts to gather and swirl at the sacral chakra in a clockwise motion. And so as you are doing this visualization, what's really important is to come into the breath that we need for singing and speaking. So what are the qualities of that breath? Well, one quality, I call it the released breath. The released breath. So what that means is that we are releasing tension in the body as we breathe, preparing ourselves for singing and speaking. So the first part of that is opening the throat. Imagine that you could just yawn this breath in. It's like you're inhaling on an ah sound. So feeling that opening in the throat, feeling the throat relax and larynx lower. And then we're also feeling the backs of the ribs opening and releasing as well. Feel how the inhale allows the backs of the ribs to expand. So now you have both. You have the yawny throat and the open ribs. Great. And so now you're also starting to feel the belly expand with that breath. And we're bringing that breath all the way down to the sacral chakra. So see if you can put it all together. This is the pranayama breath practice. Step 1 of releasing performance anxiety is that sensation of light coming through, visualizing the light, bringing all the mental activity down to the root and the hara, or sacral chakra. And then you're breathing in 3 long, deep, released breaths. We inhale, release the throat, backs of ribs and belly. You can breathe, you can inhale through the nose or the mouth, either one is fine, but just remember that it's an ah feeling in the throat. Okay, so that's our breath. So notice how you feel. Did even just 3 long, deep breaths support you in shifting your nervous system state? Are you starting to feel mental activity going down into the body? So some of those mental activity thoughts might be tempting to listen to, but actually when we're tapping into the body and allowing our sacral chakra and our embodiment to guide our expression, it's really going to support us in communicating from an authentic, embodied way. And it really supports our singing technique in very deep ways, and that's a whole different training. So I'll get into how sacral chakra supports the voice in a little while. That's not in the scope of this training right now. So that's step 1 of releasing performance anxiety, is that type of released breath and that visualization, redirecting the energy. Okay, step 2 is to now that we've brought the energy down, we also need to have the balance, because this is about balance, of bringing some energy up so that we feel supported, buoyant, light, and energized. So the breath that we just did is about calming, which is important, but now we also need to bring some energy in. And it's again about finding the balance, not of overactive or underactive, but right in that sweet spot. Okay, so how do we bring energy up through us that's actually going to support us? It's not the frantic kind of energy, but it's an engaged, vibrant energy. How do we do that? Well, it starts with the root chakra. And this is something that I work on with my voice students all the time, basically in every single lesson, is we start with some root chakra practices for the voice. And it might take a little while to fully integrate, but I'm going to show you the key aspects of it right now. So go ahead and we're going to do it together. Feel into your root chakra. So it's that space, it's tracked in several different ways. You can feel into the pelvic floor region. You can feel the space between the sits bones, the perineum. That's said to be like the base of the root chakra. Some people like to sense it in their tailbone. And this energy center is also connected all the way through the legs and feet. It's all the way to the earth. So it's our connection to earth element. Stability, groundedness, safety, creating safety in the body to express is very important. Another cool thing about it is that it actually supports our breath, because when we're connecting with the deep pelvic floor area of the body, that's connected to the deepest breathing muscles in the body. So it actually helps our breath support. It's the foundation of our phonation and vocalization. So for singing technique, it's everything. It's the foundation. So when you're tuning into this area, just feel into it in your body and see if you can sense, imagine some energy starting to rise from your root chakra up through your center line of your body. Let it move all the way up to the roof of the mouth, and from there all the way up to the third eye and up and out through the crown. So it's like your whole central core is connected in this line of energy moving up, tugging you up. So see if you can connect with that. And so we're starting to feel this sense of an orbit of energy in the body now. So we've calmed the mind, we brought the energy down, and now we're drawing energy from earth up through the body. And this is all happening in a cycle, all at the same time. So see if you can just tune into that sensation. Might be a lot to try to pay attention to, but just notice what you feel. Nice. So then the next step in that is to start to pair the voice to the root chakra quality. And I will get to that in another training because that's a whole thing in itself. But for now, we actually just want to regulate our nervous system for overcoming performance anxiety. So I hope that that is feeling good to you. Okay, so then one final thing that I love to bring in, it's actually a two-part thing, to prepare myself for singing and speaking in front of people is there's a little biohack. Maybe some of you are into biohacks. I certainly am. So one, this is actually something I learned from a trainer a while ago, is that you can actually have your tongue resting at the roof of your mouth while you're breathing. So I actually have my lips closed, but my tongue is just very, very gently, it's like a lazy tongue, very relaxed, but it's just gently resting on the roof of the mouth. It's like the hard palate area of the mouth. It's that flat part of the tongue right there, resting on the roof of the mouth. And take a couple of deep breaths into that so the lips can be parted or together. I kind of like to have mine parted because the jaw starts to really open, release, and relax. And that's definitely what we want for speaking and singing. And there's a lot of science behind why this helps to calm anxiety. One reason is because we have all kinds of nerve endings here at the roof of the mouth, and we also have meridian points at the roof of the mouth. This is why singing and speaking is such a healing practice, because we're activating those meridians. It's really cool. But also, this placement of the tongue signifies to the nervous system to relax and come into parasympathetic response, because it's like connecting to this evolutionary thing, the suckling type of response that like infants have, right? It's that innate thing that we know how to do, suckling, right? Nourishment. So we're signaling to our body, it's time to rest, receive nourishment. And it also brings us back into neutral, a neutral place. It's just like a pause, the power of the pause. So when we know how to come back into neutral in our nervous systems, that opens up the field of potentiality to anything that we want to create. And that's another aspect of the embodied voice practice. A lot of this also comes from the yoga voice method, again, which I'm a certified teacher in that method, and I love to weave that into my trainings as well. It's a powerful method. And this supports us when we're in a neutral place in our nervous systems. That's when our minds can really open to spontaneity, to flow state, to creative expression, right? So when we're able to be present in the moment, that's when we can actually respond rather than react. So one final little thing I'll share with you, we kind of already did this in the released breath, but anytime you're really wanting to feel just some release of performance anxiety, you can do a couple of yawns, and you can actually vocalize on those yawns, kind of like this. Right? Just like a nice long sigh, like you're actually enjoying it, because it's kind of fun to make sounds. So let yourself have fun and enjoy it. And remember that this is meant to be fun, right? So singing and speaking in front of people is actually meant to be a joyful experience. It's not meant to be full of anxiety. The last thing I'll share with you is kind of coming back to the very beginning of step one of understanding what is actually occurring with us when we are experiencing performance anxiety, because when we know where we are, we can know where to go. So when we are in that state of a nervous system response, when we're feeling some performance anxiety, that is actually that's our reptilian brain. So there's nothing wrong with us when we experience that. There's nothing wrong with me, there's nothing wrong with you. Every human experiences this. And something important to understand is that it is actually part of our nature to experience this. It's an evolutionary thing. Our negative ego, our nervous system is wired and designed to keep us safe. And so there are statistics that actually show that people statistically are more afraid of public speaking / public singing. Either way, it's about you're standing here in front of other people using your throat chakra and expressing something in the world. They're more afraid of that than death itself, right? So just take that in a moment. Statistics show that humans are more afraid of public speaking and singing than they are of death. That's pretty intense. So what does that mean for us? Well, it means that, yes, this is a really intense thing that we're being called to do. Speak, share authentically in front of other people. It brings up all of our stuff. It's highly confrontational for ourselves. This is why I love what my teacher said. He said that, this is Mark Moliterno, I'm quoting him, that singing is a practice of self-realization. And it is so true, because it really brings up a mirror so that you can witness yourself, learn about yourself, know yourself more deeply, and then overcome those fears and choose something powerful. So that is something that we know about humans in general, is that we have these fears. Why is that? Well, there are lots of different reasons and theories about it. One, of course, is that it's the fear of rejection and judgment. So this is, again, coming back to our evolution. It's like, if rejection can mean death, it can literally mean being rejected from the tribe and not being able to survive. Like, we depend on one another for survival, okay? So there's a reason why this is wired in our systems. However, when it comes to actually speaking and singing, obviously we know that it's not a life or death situation. I mean, really, when we bring our logical mind into it, we know, and we can coach ourselves through it. We know that the worst thing that can happen is that I just kind of messed up. Oops. And like, maybe somebody judged me. Oops. That's okay, right? So we know that though, but our cells and our nervous systems are still responding in this anxious way. So we do need these tools to mitigate that anxiety and that stress. We do need them. And master performers know how to shift their nervous system state, especially when it's a high stakes performance. They know how to get on stage and deliver because they've practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced. And there's honestly no shortcut to that. There's no shortcut to practice. That's what it takes. It takes consistency and practice. And so that's why we show up to the practice room. That's why we show up and do our voice practices each day. That's why we have voice lessons. That's why we have coaches. That is why we show up to classes and master classes and workshops to work on ourselves. And I'm right there with you, still doing the work. And I probably always will be. I'm always going to be a student of life, mastering myself, mastering my craft, mastering my art, because I know that it's a process of self-realization, self-discovery, and growth. And it's healing on so many levels. I could talk about that for a long time. So I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to leave it here with you. So one final thing though, one very important final thing that I want to just use to round out this conversation. We just explored what is performance anxiety, how it impacts our nervous systems, why we have it, where it comes from evolutionarily. We just practiced 3 key things to support you in overcoming that anxious response in the body and coming back into your neutral, sovereign, divine, and balanced state to prep yourself for singing and speaking. And those 3 key things are the visualization, the released breath, and then bringing energy up through root. So those were the 3 things that we really worked on today. And then finally, given that this is what I really want to land with you, it's something important to remember, is that given that fight or flight is kind of our default state, you know, that our nervous system is kind of wired to experience with performing, we do have a choice, a very, very powerful choice. And there's a force that's even stronger than that evolutionary response of anxiety. There's something even stronger than that. And now I'm going to be speaking into something that this is my belief. This is something that I believe to be true. And you can put this through your own filters and choose what you want to believe and what feels good to you, okay? But I'm going to share with you something that I believe, and I believe this based on my personal experience as a performer, as a coach, after seeing lots of students go through this process. I share it as a spiritual being on my spiritual journey and my deep, deep studies in the mysteries. I share it from many different perspectives. And this is my belief, is that we have a calling on our heart to share our authentic selves in the world. We are called to share our divinity with the world because we are divine. We are part of the divine. We have that spark of divinity within us. And so I do feel that our hearts are literally called, our throats are called to open up what is within us and to bring that into the world so that we can be of service, so that we can share with others and make the world a better place. Our words have power, they have magic in them. Our words and our intentions have the ability to literally create worlds. We can manifest using our voices, the world that we desire to live in. And this is not just some wild, airy-fairy, esoteric idea, because you can look at it in your daily life. The words that you say to somebody, you can feel their response to it. You can see it in their eyes when they light up by something that you share with them. If you really drop into your body and give somebody a compliment that means something, you do have that power. And we see it all the time with performing. I see it all the time when I perform and people are crying in the audience. It moves them. That's healing. That's moving energy and healing people, right? So notice the ways, this is the invitation for you, is notice the ways in your life that you can use your voice for good, bringing goodness into the world, you can find so many different ways, whether it's even just on the phone, even if you're like a salesperson and you're calling somebody and you're wanting to make a difference for them with what you're offering them, right? That's a beautiful service. And you can shift somebody's mood via the tone of your voice. You can bring healing into your voice and bring some joy, and that can lift somebody's day. So there's so many ways we can use our body, our instrument, our being, our message to make the world a better place, to shift the consciousness. And that's the mission that I'm on, and I love to inspire others on that mission. And some of the tools that I have from my training, I humbly offer them as a means to support you in opening up this portal, this throat chakra, this self-expression vessel that we are, to open it up in the tone, in the resonance, in the words, in all of it, every aspect of ourselves, so that we can be fully expressed. And I do feel like, again, it's our calling. We're called to overcome these fears so that we can be our true expression. And that is more powerful than any kind of fear and anxiety. Love is more powerful if we choose it. So I invite you to choose love and your expression, and to enjoy these tools, to use them, to practice them consistently, and also to receive support if that is calling you. And so you have me to support you. You can always post here in our group. You can send me a private message. You can send me an email. You can check out my offerings. Of course, I offer workshops. I offer group courses. I offer one-on-ones. So if that is calling to you and you're resonating, then for sure reach out. I love to be here for my people as best I possibly can. So I'm going to leave that with you today. Thank you for listening and much love. Enjoy. Bye.